Do you want to be a coach? This is something that question I get quite often. I've actually gotten a few questions this week and about it, and it's appropriate. I just finished, had a number of interns here for the summer, and this is kind of a discussion that one of the main focuses that I have with them is helping them, one, discover if this is what they truly want to do, and two, how they can best develop themselves to be a coach. The number one thing you have to remember about working in this business is it's a service-based business. You are here to serve a client or a customer and help them achieve their goals, or, as I find, help people identify what their goals truly are. A lot of people have goals that they aren't necessarily aware what the consequences of those goals are. So that's part of it, but that's a different topic for a different day. But the number one thing is customer service. So with my young coaches that come in, especially the ones that struggle with people skills, and that's becoming even more prominent now as people, especially young kids, spend more time on social media. They don't do as much social interaction. So getting them to work on their people skills, and the best way to do that is the service industry. I think one of the things that really helped me develop people skills was, from a young age, working in grocery stores, working in a 5-star hotel in Aspen. That really helped. Bouncing in nightclubs. Having to show up and put a happy face on and engage with people, regardless of where you're at, the mood you're in, because you're going to have days where you're not having a good day, but you still have to put on a smile and provide a service. And learning how to deal with, especially working in nightclubs and you're dealing with people that are drinking, learning how to deal with difficult people in difficult situations, because in this business you're going to have days where people just come up and tell you the most weird, awkward things, and you have to be able to just smile and be patient and roll through it. The second is I think one of the things that really helped me was interning at a big major school or a college or something along those lines, where you're dealing with multiple athletes. When I was at Liberty and the University of Arizona, you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of athletes coming through every day in big groups. And the coaches have to simplify cues, and they have to make decisions on the fly. They have to be able to coach things in a high-stress environment. If you can do that, if you can work with big groups, that makes things a lot easier. And seeing more athletes is going to help you kind of develop your eye for coaching. There's a big comeback in one-on-one because everybody's offering group stuff now, and that's a totally different skill set. You have to be able to keep things interesting with people. I do small group stuff, which I really enjoy. The one-on-one stuff I reserve usually for people that are coming in from out of town, or somebody who's having a problem with one of their lifts, or somebody that wants me to look at their form. That's usually what I reserve my one-on-one stuff for. The other thing is something that Jim Windler taught me when I was in the early 2000s, when I was kind of it was in a little bit of a funk, I could say, and Jim just told me, he said, be the best beginner coach possible, because most of the people that you're going to run into are never going to go beyond beginner or intermediate. And he's so right. Even Scott Downs, who I worked with for a very, very long time and played the majors, when we first started with him, it was very simple stuff that improved him immensely. And a lot of the athletes I work with, it's not rocket science. It's just simple stuff. Pat Davidson and I did a podcast on Body.io, and I'll link that below. And Pat was like, if you can get a general population person to do a decent lunge, a decent RDL, you're doing a good job. And so a lot of people think that it has to be, and there are clients that I have that we do some pretty cool stuff, but that's not the norm, and that's not the majority. Most people don't have the time to really develop and to be able to do some really cool stuff in the weight room. So it's your job to simplify things and get them the results that they want with the least amount of time possible. So be the best beginner coach possible. And one of the things that I expose all my interns to is a product by Mike Robertson called Core or Complete Core Training or something along those lines. Even though I hate the term core, but if you read that book and that product and you look at that product, it will help you understand how the body strategizes, not only in normal everyday people, but in performance situations, and also how sometimes certain strategies are beneficial to certain performance athletes. And it gets you to kind of understand that there's a time and place for everything, but if you can understand zone of apposition, which he goes into in that product, and circumferential expansion, and how to line your belly button and your rib cage up together, and that's pretty much, if you start from the inside out and you work your way out, if your middle's in a good position, it's going to clean up a lot of the stuff away from the middle. So you always want to start in the middle and work your way out. So that product, I think, is essential for somebody that's new. And then Mike also is putting out some incredible content on real basic stuff like rows and split squats and arm bars and all these things. You want to master these very basic things that should be a part of your programming, especially in the beginning. You should be doing lots of real basic, simple things, and teaching people how to do those properly. And that way you can hone your craft, learn your craft. Probably working at a commercial gym or working for somebody else is going to be a good way to get started. I think people, a lot of the people that come in here that are exercise physiology or exercise science type degrees, they'll have this big business plan where they want to own a gym and everything else. Well, if you look at the most successful people in the fitness industry, like Mike Robertson, Eric Cressy, Joe DeFranco, they all started out really, really small. I mean, Joe DeFranco started out in a closet in a gym and built his business that way. Cressy has expanded over the years when he needed to, and he hired business people to help him. Super smart. And Mike, if you go back and listen, I've done podcasts with Eric and Mike. If you look at Mike, he started out small and then slowly built his way up, and then decided to partner with Bill Hartman and start their gym up. But there's so many things and variables that go into running a gym, from employees to admin to your overhead's a lot higher. In the beginning, you're much better off starting off working for somebody else, or basically working as an independent contractor and keeping your overhead as low as you can, because you got to get clients, and in the beginning you're going to have to train anybody you can get your hands on. That's basically the name of the game, is you got to get people to work with you, and then once you start getting results with some of those people, then they're going to refer people to you, and then life gets a lot easier. But you don't want to start off with this big facility or your own studio and then you don't have any clients. You want to find somewhere where you can train people, build a reputation, and then when you're busting at the seams, then you can decide whether you want to open your own place. But in this world of online content and being able to do stuff like this, whether you want your own facility or not is something you'll have to decide. But it's something I can go into detail with on another video. But the pros and cons of having your own facility. There's a lot to be said for simplicity and low overhead. So I hope that helps you if you're looking to get into this industry. But just to understand, you're going to have to shovel some shit to grow some flowers. You're going to have to put a lot of hours in. You're going to have to practice your craft, and then you're just going to have to just learn as you go, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just keep people safe. But understand that experience is the key, and then as you learn new things, you can integrate that stuff in as time goes on. But you want to keep things as simple as possible.